All right. Kelly, you're up next. I understand you're licensed in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. You've been in the business since 2017. Last year, you closed 58 units personally, team total for 190. This year, your goal is 75 units, and the team total is 335. Since you've been in our world, you've been in Glover U coaching since 2024, I think January of 24, so about a year ago. Listing Mastery, you've been through Buyer Business Accelerator, and also you're a Sales Rocket graduate. So I'm going to have them throw up on the screen one of the first pages of your business plan, which I was really impressed with how well you know your numbers. So talk to us about what's going on here.
Sure. And I try to think of it as not just being the numbers, because I know that doesn't resonate a lot with the rest of the team sometimes too. Mm-hmm. So I try to think of it as two things that really helped in those numbers then too, is looking at it as the plan. So what's working well and mm-hmm. what needs improvement, and then what do we need to do in general to kind of get to the next level. So I think two things that I try to focus on is the vision of that and just really believing that it's possible.
Yep.
And then the second one was like the frequency in which we actually look at the plan.
Yeah.
Or our accountability then too.
So I'm seeing here you're averaging 11 contacts to a closing. That's pretty good. So what sources do you work to get that good of a ratio?
Personally, I think to be able to balance my own sales and growing the team, I tried to focus more on sphere referrals mm-hmm. and past clients.
Yep. Which is a higher contact to closing ratio because you already have a relationship.
And then also a lot of it in the database was just simply leads, like referral sites, HomeLight, Realtor.com, or anything then too.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Anything else you want to tell us about this before we go to the next page? I know you looks like you're a little competitive. You're number 11 in the MLS.
So
that's not on section 1 of the plan. You added that.
So a lot of it was writing notes for myself then too. And I always,
yeah, of course.
I don't want to compete with anybody else but myself then
sure.
too. And I tried to write a lot about, there's the numbers to fill in, but
yeah.
then also what did we achieve? You know,
yeah.
where, you know, adding 6 agents or adding to the admin or ISAs or opening a second office location, I think
yep.
I have on there. So I tried to think about, you know, what did we achieve, you know, in the year then too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I noticed your listing gone on the listing sign ratio is good. You've got some pretty good ratios. There's no doubt. This looks a lot like a business plan of someone who focuses more on people they know than people they don't know.
Right.
Which, of course, I would imagine at this point is now something that you're starting to mix in more business from people that you don't know.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that it'll show through in the source to sources and the database plan or so that came through then too. And I think a lot of the conversion ratio was that I figured if the market was going to be harder, then we had to get better at our conversion then also. So that's why we went all in on the programs.
Yeah.
And all of those programs happened in the last year.
Yeah.
And I actually forgot Prospecting Bootcamp was on there too.
That's all right.
So I figured we had to go all in,
yeah.
you know, this last year.
Sure.
So I figured no more excuses for the classes. Start with Prospecting Bootcamp because that built the habit.
Yep.
And then, you know, with the changes and the commission and everything too, Listing Mastery and Buyer Mastery just made sense to follow that.
Yeah.
You know, and then coaching, you know, all year also helps.
We're going to do something really cool tomorrow. Something we've never done at a retreat or a summit is we're going to actually, you guys have seen, many of you, the live listing presentation or live buyer consultation. First time ever, we're actually going to dissect the live listing presentation. So that way we can talk about, here's why you say this right at that moment. And when they say this, here's exactly what you respond with right in that moment. We're going to do that tomorrow. I think you guys will enjoy that. Let's go to the next page of Kelly's plan. So the goals for 2025 looks like gross income, 750, good for you. And looks like your ratios, you're keeping them about where they were. It looks like you're adding, you know, database touches, looks like that's going up. And you're also, I see a big number there, new contacts added to the database of 500. Can you tell us about those two numbers?
Well, I tried to do the math and just take what we were doing. And if I was going to hit my sales number, then too is just proportionately increasing everything along the way.
Yep.
And somewhere along, you were just saying, you know, adding contacts to the database was a big portion of it then too.
Yeah.
So I just took between how many I was going to close and how many contacts I had to make, and that's how many people I was going to add.
Smart. I love that. Let's go to the next page. Let's start having some fun with these numbers. Double down plan, all right? So you made the decision that you're doubling down on existing database, just solds, Sphere, past clients, and recruiting, obviously, because you're leading your team. So talk to us about doubling down on existing database and just solds. Let's focus on that one.
So in the database plan then too, I tried to think about, I don't want to just always constantly be looking for new leads. I signed up for Fellow also, and I've tried to focus a lot of the marketing in how do we work with the existing database.
Sure.
If you have a large database already, and that's what I push all of the newer agents, especially, is build a big database as quickly as possible.
Yep.
So now that we have it, is how can we do more marketing to the existing database?
Yeah.
So we've got our 12 months laid out, which we have that page then too.
Yeah.
And also, you kind of say it in throughout the year, you know, your 4 phone calls,
Yep.
adding value, but also being specific and asking for the business then too.
Yes. You have
So-
permission to ask for business once you've added value.
Right.
The mistake a lot of agents make is they lead off with asking for business without asking value and adding value in return.
Right. So just sold is a part of it, and marketing to them. So not just to the neighborhood, but to our database then
Yeah.
too. So
Yep.
we're doing just listed, just solds to them, our
Yep.
year in review to them, so they can see the production part of it.
Yeah.
But on top of the fun things or the value adds in our
Yeah,
database
smart.
plan.
All right, good. Let's go dive deeper in this. So let's go to the next page. So your database value proposition, you just mentioned it. So you have outlined every single month of the year, one thing you're going to do to add value and or ask for business. So of this list of 12, all right, well, let's just focus on the left-hand side. What are 1 or 2 that are like, do not miss? Like, you guys got to do this.
We've been doing client events, so we usually had 2. So now I'm just trying to add, more to them. So we
Yep.
have 2 bigger ones or so too.
Yep.
I foster dogs, so it just clicked that I should do pups and pints.
Yeah, I love that. That's cool.
And then we do
Be known for something in your market.
Right. So that's where, I can't miss that because, people know 2 things about me, that I live and breathe real estate and I foster dogs.
Yeah, that's awesome. I see you added the year in review call. Is that a call, a letter? What is that? Or, I'm
So
sorry.
we've done
No,
the
year in
letter.
review letter.
Yep. We have the letter going out in January and July.
Yep.
It went out right before we came here.
Yeah. I love that.
We should do the call at the same time. We do calls for the events, so it kind of breaks it down into
Yeah.
quarterly.
Yep.
So the calls for the events and at the holidays then too. So
You know what stood out to me on this is you've already identified when you're going to do the Easter egg hunt, right? Because a lot of people talk about, oh yeah, I got to do that. I got to do the community event. You actually picked the date.
I had to pick the date. So our new second office is investment property to me too, and it's an event venue.
Yeah.
So I have to plan out the entire day when it's available versus when it's booked.
Yep, I love that. That's great. All right, let's go to the next page. Let's dive a little deeper into this. Okay, so here's your business, sales, and life development plan. I too was impressed with what you had written out. You have all of your events identified that you're going to be attending between now and the end of the year, which is good to get those on the calendar. Obviously, getting that booked out in advance, you're mentally preparing for it, you're financially preparing for it. But tell me what's going on here when you look at this list of 13 different areas where you're going to add some changes or some differences to what you're doing.
I think the biggest part is that growth is hard. So you have to really break down like where you're going to pivot and shift. So like you said, picking out the different categories and just trying to narrow down where I need help or where I need to learn or shift or build the habits then too.
Yep. And I know you identified, books that you're going to read, podcasts, you identified some health things, social media. You've got quite a few things written in there for social media. Tell us what's going on there.
Can't read it either. Social media, I try to friend clients then too. So I need to build my confidence on video.
Yep.
But friending the clients on top of the Sphere, we're also posting before, during, and after events.
Yep.
And I'm just trying to share more about, what we do in the everyday then too.
Yeah.
So
We talk a lot about extending the life of an event, extending the life of a client event. It's not just one day. It's weeks worth of content, weeks leading up to it, weeks afterwards, your newsletters, your social media. Every time you do a client event, you're missing a huge opportunity if you're not extending the life of that event. That event is not just a one-day thing. It's a 1 month thing or a 6-week thing. I see the other thing that you wrote out here was adding to your daily time block, giving your own numbers on the morning call. Tell us what's changing in your time block for your schedule this year.
So I've tried to focus on time blocking a lot. So coaching with James helped me figure out what I needed to do to grow the team.
Yep.
And I knew coaching with Taylor would push me on the time block then too.
Yeah.
And not to just have a schedule, but she pushes me that my daily time block has to actually reflect
Sure.
that then too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, going all in on Glover U, I figured whatever you're doing, we need to implement, and we
Yeah.
need to do it quicker,
Sure.
or more often.
Yep.
So we used to have a weekly accountability call. Last year, that changed to daily.
Yeah.
So,
More frequency equals more urgency.
right.
And
So you
more
don't just-
urgency means getting results faster.
Yeah. So we didn't just have a bad week. You can catch it sooner.
Yep.
And then make up for it.
Bingo.
Our one-on-ones went from quarterly to monthly. We're going to use the cumulative board.
Yes.
So that just breaks it down.
You're sitting next to a guy who implemented that with his team. So that's awesome.
Well, this is the year we're just starting, using that then too. So, I mean, I'm on the morning call every morning also, so I figured I need to, push myself to give my own numbers,
Yep.
just like they do.
I love it. All right, let's go to the next page. You might have one more out of this. There's your Midway Mayday plan. So you wrote out, you're waking up at 5 a.m. if you're not at your halfway point. That's painful. What time do you normally wake up?
Like 6.
6. So an hour earlier than your body is used to is going to be painful. But that is what forces you to do everything you can to hit the halfway point. You're going to add lead generation, lead follow-up Thursday and Friday afternoon. Also painful because what are you normally doing on Thursday, Friday afternoons right now?
I figured if I don't have appointments, I need to make up for it. And usually Thursday and Fridays, especially in the afternoons, are the best days, to make them then too.
Yeah, especially with buyer leads heading into the weekend. All right, let's go to the last. I think you might have one or two more. Oh, life at the new level. I love this. You did a great job outlining what your life looked like in 2024, what you're able to accomplish, some really cool things there. With Pilates, the new car, paying off the pool loan. In 2025, you got some new stuff. So what are some things that you're excited about? 2025 is a full year. So I know you can't read it, but just think at the top of your mind, some of the things when you were writing out, you were forced to think about the things you want to accomplish this year. What are some that stand out?
I mean, I tried to be as specific as possible, and I'm not the person that usually does vision boards or journaling or really does these pages.
It forces you to do
And
this.
I did this year because I really, what makes all this hard work worth it? And I really wanted to sit down and focus on that.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's hard and you're so focused being on the business, what's my reasons why? And I tried to be really specific down to what I want to eat because when you're busy, I'm not cutting out time for that.
Correct.
So, working out or eating better. And it's really personal, then too on there. And I think that it pushed me, the more I saw it, that it's achievable and I want it more, that it's listed out.
Yep.
That, I'm going to make the business decisions or my daily habit decisions so that this is possible.
Smart. All right. Do we have any other pages of Kelly's plan? All right. Go back to the last one. Perfect. Okay. So Kelly, last question I have, same question I have for these two. Obviously, you've gone all in on what we're teaching, what we're doing. What would you tell someone in the audience who is listening to your story, viewing some of your plan, one or two things that you've had to change in yourself and what you do or in your actions in order to get to where you are today?
To me, the hardest part was I don't have to do it all myself. So, I've kind of gone through positions like Taylor from listing and transaction coordinator to photos and marketing to director of operations to sales and trading. So the hardest part is actually pulling back on that I don't have to do it myself because there's only so much time in a day.
Yeah.
So that's where, when you talk about the dollar sign activity, it's the most important thing in my life now.
Yeah.
So I think through that every day, that what's holding me back from getting to that life at the new level, I need to figure out how I'm going to leverage it or delegate it then.
Write this down. What is my ROT on my daily activities? That's the dollars. That's the start of the dollar sign activity. What is my ROT, my return on time of my daily activities? You're going to find that there's a lot of activities that you're involved in that you think are important, that may be important, but they're not actually getting you the return that you want. So what is the ROT on my daily activities? That starts that whole conversation.
Yeah. So each day, I'm focusing on time blocking with Taylor then too. And, if it's not a part of that time block, I have to learn how to delegate it then.
Yep. Awesome. Let's hear for Kelly.